This is behind a paywall, New York Times. This investigation broke down the deal to take these people from the United States and deport them to El Salvador to be put in their prison system. And there was something from this investigation that the New York Times put out, from their report that they put out, that I thought was very fascinating. And that indicates that Bukele, the leader of El Salvador, is actually uncomfortable with how the Trump administration has engaged, in fact, including sending women to a men's prison, and the lack, I shit you not, the lack of evidence that Trump is providing them that they actually committed crimes. Bukele is worried that the people that he's being sent might be innocent, and he's like, dude, you just sent me these women for the men's prison. Can you double check this? Bukele has morals? No. This doesn't have to do with Bukele having morals. Whether he has morals or not, doesn't have morals or whatever, whether he has a soul, doesn't have a soul, it could just be out of like pure, like, he doesn't want to be involved in a scandal because he knows that Donald Trump's president now, but in 4 years, if there's a Democrat elected and they think Bukele helped them deport a bunch of Americans to their prisons and detain them illegally, or a bunch of innocent people, well, I think they might treat them a little differently. Let me read you from the article. Mr. Bukele wanted assurances from the United States that each of those locked up in the prison was a member of Tren de Aragua, the transnational gang with roots in Venezuela, according to people familiar with the situations and documents obtained by the New York Times. The matter was urgent. A senior U.S. official warned his colleagues shortly after the deportations, kicking off a scramble to get the Salvadorians whatever evidence they could, meaning they were deporting them without providing evidence that they were part of the gang. And by the way, Tren de Aragua, then it became MS-13 as well, because when we talk about Garcia, they say is MS-13. You haven't proven in court of law, but that's what they say. They haven't proved it, but that's what they say. Mr. Bukele's demands for more information about some of the deportees, which has not been previously reported, deepen questions about whether the Trump administration sufficiently assessed who it dispatched to a foreign prison. The New York Times pieced together the most complete account yet of the U.S. arrangement with El Salvador and the March 15th deportations from internal government documents, court filings, and interviews with 22 people familiar with the operation and legal challenge. Many spoke on the condition of anonymity due to the fear of retaliation. Publicly, the administration insisted that all 238 Venezuelans who were deported were members of Tren de Aragua, but few had documented public links to the gang, and officials admitted many did not have criminal records in the United States. The lack of specific information about each individual actually highlights the risks they pose, Robert L. Sira, a top deportation official, wrote in a court filing. So to be clear, Bukele is like, I need proof that these are all members of Tren de Aragua for you to send them here. And then they go and they're like, hey, guys, actually, the fact we know so little about them just shows how scary. Ooh, spooky. Okay, go. Well, before the court could say anything. To determine their gang affiliation, listen to this. The Homeland Security Department had created a scorecard in which the men were assigned points for different categories. A broad range of tattoos were worth 4 points. A tally of 8 points was considered evidence of gang membership. Well, there you have it. Any tattoo, 4 points. 4 points right there. Tattoos. Put it on a gang membership scale where you're either like 80, oh, you're 40%, you're not, oh, 60%, oh, that's enough, send them over. He has, hey, we want to be sure that they're members of Tren de Aragua. And then Trump's like, okay, well, this one's 20%, this one's 40% Tren de Aragua, this one's 60%. Look at his tattoos. That one has a skull on it. My God, a scorecard. The fact that there is a scorecard in and of itself is crazy. But the metric you use is if they have a broad range of tattoos. No wonder we were getting those pictures of that dude's soccer mom tattoos as evidence that he was members of a gang, because they were just showing the fact that he had tattoos. That tattoo where he says like "I love my mother." Well, now that's dangerous. That's dangerous. This is crazy. This isn't even like an attempt to be. This is get as many people as possible. Because the old philosophy was, it's better that one free man goes than it's better that 10 guilty men go than one free man goes into prison, right? Like 10 guilty men can go free than one innocent man be put behind bars. And this was the standard we wanted in our government, because we liked the idea of giving the benefit of the doubt to the defendant and making sure that the court system gives them a jury in front of their peers, etc. And now deporting to one of the most notorious prisons in South America, all you needed to get a little few more points on the scorecard was for you to have mama tattooed on your back. Any tattoo at all. You could have Squirtle, you could have Kung Fu Panda on there, you could have like it's okay to be gay. Tren de Aragua. They're really big into that. They're really big into loving their mothers and being homosexual hairdressers. A tally of 8 points was enough to be considered evidence of gang membership. To be clear, what this means is having a bunch of tattoos is halfway there. I have 5 tattoos. That's a broad range. I'm halfway there. I'm halfway. How am I halfway? I'm halfway to being a gang member because I have a few tattoos. If you have a tattoo and you support Trump, let's just be clear. You're like, I just throw it out there that just be careful about getting any more tattoos. Don't make them a broad range, okay? You might become ideologically inconsistent. My God, this is fucking wild. State Department officials said they provided El Salvador with a scorecard. Could you imagine what Bukele is like, hey, can you show us evidence that these guys are members of Tren de Aragua? And then he goes and he's like, well, they have tattoos. They have tattoos. And that's worth 4 points. 4 points? What do you mean points? This is a scorecard? What is this, bowling? State Department officials said they provided El Salvador with a scorecard and other intelligence showing the Venezuelans were Tren de Aragua members. Still, inside the U.S. government, some career staff had qualms about what had unfolded. During an internal State Department briefing about issues related to Latin America, some employees were dismayed to hear that weeks earlier, American spy agencies had assessed that Tren de Aragua was not actually controlled by the Venezuelan government, which was the premise for invoking the Alien Enemies Act. So the legal premise that they're using, which is already flimsy enough to say that these are enemy aliens, these are people from a nation at war with us that are enemies of us, even though they're members of a gang, the method they use to do that, the flimsy legal even the flimsy legal method isn't grounded. It isn't even grounded in their own metric. But the application of the Rarely Used Alien Enemies Act appeared to be haphazard, pulling in migrants whose relatives insisted they were not gang members. Government officials hurried to assemble documents detailing who was sent to the prison and justify the deportations in court. The process was so messy that 8 women were among those flown to be incarcerated in the Salvadorian prison, an all-male facility, and had to be swiftly returned. Trump was ready to deport 8 women, guilty, innocent, U.S. citizen, not citizen, I don't know, 8 women to a prison with some of the most violent and, to be quite honest, brutal and rapey prisoners in the world. Like, those people who were wreaking havoc in El Salvador, those are not what you would say good Christian boy. And you're gonna send 8 women there. Oopsie doopsie, almost sent your woman into almost sent your mom to a giant rape and abuse factory. Accidental. Could you imagine if Bukele didn't care? Could you imagine if, like, he didn't care about the PR backlash? He didn't care. He thought Trump's here to stay, and, in 4 years, the Democrat can't win because the democracy's over. And he just act like Assad, and he says, sure, throw him in there. Throw him with the worst ones. I mean, if it wasn't for Bukele putting the brakes on it, it would have been worse. Friends and families of the men locked up in El Salvador are now struggling to extract information about their fate. The White House is in a standoff with the federal courts over how it has applied the Alien Enemies Act, with the Supreme Court expected to weigh in soon, a potentially significant test of Trump's attempts to expand his executive power. The president has the right to remove foreign terrorists from our homeland, and we are absolutely confident that the truth will ultimately prevail in court, the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, said in a statement. In the meantime, the administration continues to comply with all court orders. By the way, while we're still on the topic of deportations, this is behind a paywall.